Well, hello everybody, how are you doing this fine day? Hope you're enjoying your week. Welcome to another survival challenge, in particular, a Palworld survival Palworld survival challenge. I should re-record that, but I'm not going to. So for people who've never been to my channel before, don't know anything about it, don't know what we do here, I make survival challenges. I know, crazy. Like the fucking opening wasn't enough of information on that. I take a bunch of different characters from a bunch of different universes and chuck them into some situation in a different universe to see, what might happen. How will they react to this new situation they find themselves in? Will they make friends, enemies, love interests, whatever? I don't know. That's what we're here to find out. I've already made a previous survival challenge that takes place in the Palworld universe, and in that video I already went over everything that you need to know about Palworld. So if you don't know anything about Palworld and you want to, go check out that video where I explain it all, because I'm not going to re-explain it every single time I make a Palworld survival challenge for this crazy. No. But I'll waste enough of your time. Let's get started. First up on Chop Block, we have Ash Ketchum from the Pokemon series. And before I get started on how Ash would do in the Palpagos Islands, I have to squash some bullshit, because there's a lot of bullshit that people like to talk about when it comes to Ash Ketchum. In an attempt for scalers to unnaturally try to increase the strength levels of Ash, they just start playing fucking stupid. It's the weirdest thing. So to give a few examples, in Pokemon in the games, there's a Pokemon known as Cosmoem, I think. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but it's like Cosmoem, that's how it's spelled. And in the Pokedex, this Pokemon is said to be about 999 kilos or 2,200 pounds. It's like this sort of funny joke where this tiny Pokemon that's the size of a small rock you can hold in the palm of your hand, in reality has this ridiculous weight tied to it. In one of the episodes, Ash is shown being able to carry this thing around. He literally just holds it in the palm of his hand while he's talking to some dude and shows it to him, and people like to really run with this. Like to say, well, in the Pokedex, this thing is 2,200 pounds and Ash is just holding it in the palm of his hand. This is what I would call playing fucking stupid. I know, you know, and the people who make this argument know that the animators were not taking the weight of this Pokemon into account. Throughout the entire episode, there is not a single hint or indication or reference to this Pokemon being any heavier than what it looks like, which is a small little rock you can hold in the palm of your hand. No one freaks out at the fact that Ash can lift this thing up. It's literally treated in the episode as if it's the weight of the size that it appears. There is not a chance in hell that the people who make the argument that he's doing this aren't aware of this. They're just pretending not to be so they can up Ash's numbers. It is clear as day that as far as this episode is concerned, Cosmoem is not 2,200 pounds. And even if he was, why is the first thing you jump to that this 10-year-old child is strong enough to hold 2,200 pounds in his bare hands, rather than, I don't know, the fact that Cosmoem can fly and maybe he's just reducing his weight so Ash can hold him? Because he can literally fucking float through the air. Why is the assumption that the 10-year-old can lift 2,200 pounds? There's no struggling happening. He's literally just holding it like it's a little marble or something in his bare hands. This point is so stupid that I almost didn't even want to give it time in the video, but I know someone in the comment section was going to bring it up, so, kind of forced my hand. The second argument people are going to use for Ash's strength is the fact that in one episode, he was able to lift up a very large log, one that was clearly bigger than he was, and then throw it over this river and basically create a little bridge where he can cross over. For one, I would say that this very clearly disproves the whole picking up the 2,200 pound Pokemon, because that log is very clearly not 2,200 pounds, but I also think that people are exaggerating how strong this is. I've heard people say that this gives him way beyond human levels of strength to be able to lift this log, and I'll be honest, I don't get where they're getting that from. All the comparisons being made to try and figure out how big the log is taking the log and putting it next to Ash and being like, okay, how big is the log compared to Ash? So this is how much the log should weigh, but they're all pretending like Ash is a normal sized person and not, a 10-year-old fucking child. And not only a 10-year-old child, but a 10-year-old child who is considered short even for a 10-year-old child. Throughout the series of Pokemon, Ash meets several other kids that are his same age on these same super dangerous adventures. These are terrible parents in this universe, by the way. Even his female friends who are of a similar age to him, around 10, some of them are younger, some of them are older, they're almost always taller than him. Ash is considered a very, very short person. The average weight for a 10-year-old is between 68 pounds and 75 pounds. Given that Ash is shown to be shorter and skinnier than most other 10-year-olds, we can assume that he would be even less, possibly possibly even low 60s to high 50s. I mean, this kid isn't even 5 feet tall. He's like low 4s. If you compare the log to the size of Ash, it's not really that big of a log. Like, it's impressive that a 10-year-old can lift it. That is impressive, because like 10-year-olds got really shitty. I have an 11-year-old nephew. Those motherfuckers are weak, dude. They can't lift shit. Ash is very clearly superhuman compared to other 10-year-olds. But the log that he lifts, I can lift. I'm a 6'3", 210-pound dude. I can lift that fucking log. Now, I certainly wouldn't be able to chuck the log as far as Ash did, but to say that he's superhuman, that's a bit of a stretch. I think that any strongman, some guy that would go to a strongman competition in the real world, would easily be able to lift this log and chuck it a lot farther than Ash did. He's definitely up there in the higher echelons of human strength, but it's still human strength. And honestly, that's really all he has. A couple scenes here and there of him jumping a really far distance that a 10-year-old shouldn't be able to jump, but it's super possible for an adult athlete to jump. Lifting shit that a kid shouldn't be able to lift, but adults should be able to lift. Like, nothing he has is super overpowered, incredible, amazing. It's just amazing for a 10-year-old child. Ash doesn't have any fighting skills. He's never killed someone. He's never won a fight at all. He doesn't use guns. He's a relatively innocent kid that lives in an innocent world where the most evil characters in that world can be overcome with the power of friendship and talk no jutsu. The ongoing villains of the series, Team Rocket, are fucking incompetent, and when they do have chances to kill him, they don't take it because they don't want to kill a child. It's a very nice, child-friendly world overall. That is not the case for Palworld. The Palpagos Islands are cruel and brutal and violent. Slavery and murder is constant, and the pals are not these cute little animals that you could fight and, you know, train, and they're like, oh, we could be friends with all of these Pokemon. No, the pals eat people, and they're an uncontrollable, unstoppable, monstrous race that have to have their wills completely stripped to them by the pal spheres, because otherwise they can't be controlled and they will fucking kill you. So when you take Ash and you throw him into Palworld, it's going to be fucking hilarious, but it's not going to end well for Ash. I mean, just think for like 5 seconds about what it would be like if you took Ash and the Pal Tamer and you put them together in any world. Like, we'll put them in the Pokemon world, just for like shits and giggles, right? You have Ash coming up being like, oh, golly gee, let's go on an adventure, Pal Tamer. This is gonna be so much fun. And the Pal Tamer's like, yeah, sure, we can go on an adventure. And they go into the fucking woods, and a Rat-a-tat comes out, and the Pal Tamer immediately pulls out a gun, shoots the fucking Rat-a-tat, cuts it open with a knife, and starts eating its innards for survival. Ash is gonna be standing there like, no, what are you doing? No, that's horrible. Horrible. Now take Ash and throw him into a world where that's just totally the norm, right? He's gonna run into his first Rain Syndicate villain, right? Just a basic bitch Rain Syndicate guy. He's gonna be like, you're a bad guy who's hurting pals who are kind of like Pokemon. Let's get into a Pokemon battle. And then he summons his fucking, like, I choose you, Pikachu. And then the Rain Syndicate pulls out a gun and shoots Ash in the fucking head. Why wouldn't he do that? That's what they do in the game. They don't just rely on pals to battle. They fucking shoot each other and kill them with weapons. There's guns here. Or how about this? In Pokemon, there's a rule that you can't catch other people's Pokemon that's already been claimed. There's a whole game about this very thing that came out on the GameCube years ago, where you play this character who has to steal this specific, like, arm strap thing, and it gives you the ability to steal Pokemon who are already owned and caught by other people. It's like a whole thing in that game that normally Pokeballs can't capture already captured Pokemon. That's not a rule in Palworld. If Ash runs into his first dude, he's like, I choose you, Pikachu, and then the Rain Syndicate guy, or literally anyone he's going up against, can just throw a fucking Pal Sphere at his Pikachu and catch him. And then Ash is like, no, you can't do that. Give me my best friend back. No. And then the Rain Syndicate guy can just resummon Pikachu. And then Ash will be like, come on back, Pikachu, my buddy, my friend. And Pikachu's gonna be just standing there staring at him with just cold, dead, emotionless eyes, because the Pal Spheres literally stripped the will of the things that it catches. And Ash is gonna be like, no, why don't you recognize me? I'm gonna save you and bring back your will with the power of friendship. And then the Rain Syndicate dude is gonna order the Pikachu to electrocute Ash and eat his corpse, and Pikachu's gonna do it, and that's it. It's done. Ash is fucking done. The Pal Tamer at the beginning of this game is capable of lifting a Mamorest, which is a mammoth made out of a forest. It weighs well over a dozen tons, and he holds it over his head in one hand like it's a fucking serving tray at a party. Ash is physically weaker than the characters in the this universe. He's slower. He doesn't have guns. He doesn't kill people. And he doesn't have the survival skills necessary to live here in any capacity. He will get fucking murdered or enslaved. His Pokemon will be stripped from him. They will be enslaved via the Pal Spheres. And he will be finished here faster than I finished inside your mother. It's gonna be super, super sad, kind of, for some people. I think it's gonna be really funny, actually. I think it's gonna be fucking hilarious. Now, to be fair, I do think that a lot of Ash's Pokemon are strong enough to fight against many of the Pals. I think there's even an argument to be made that his Pokemon are stronger than all of the Pals, possibly, but that's not going to save Ash. Ash is still just gonna be this out in the open dude who summons a Pokemon, and that Pokemon is going to have to protect him at all times against all manner of monsters and people that want to kill him, that could kill him pretty easily, and they will not be able to protect him. So while his Pokemon might survive, again, get enslaved, but survive, Ash has really no chance of survival. I don't even really think that they would care to enslave him because he's a 10-year-old child who's physically weaker than everybody else on the island. So like, why? Like, who gives a shit? Why do I want this 10-year-old? Just fucking kill him. It's fine. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, join the membership, you get exclusive access to unique videos that no one else will get. And don't forget to check the pinned comment below where there will be a link to the Discord, as well as my second channel where I put any videos that are not survival challenge related. I'm not putting videos there very often at the moment, but I do plan on making it a little more of a, common thing of me putting shit there. Mostly, when good movies start coming out, I'll start reviewing movies over there, talking about new games, talking about my opinions on things, rather than just squeezing all my opinions into these survival challenges. That is not foreshadowing at all. Nope. That's not gonna come back around in this video. Why would you think that? That's just stuff stupid. But are you tired of this ad? So am I. Let's get back to the video. Next up, we have the Demon Lord of Nordberg from Overlord 2, the video game, not the anime, two totally different things. And I'm not gonna waste your time with this one. The Demon Lord of Nordberg cannot in any way take on really anybody on the Palpagos Islands. He's gonna get his ass beat by even really the starter pals. He's physically strong, don't get me wrong, like he can lift up like heavy shit, like a boulder, like he can lift up a boulder, that's cool. He once walked into a building with a bunch of explosive barrels and they blew up in his face and he walked out and he was fine. He can dodge arrows, like he has some stuff. But considering one of the first pals you run into at the very start of the game is straight up stated to have hypersonic level kicks that split the air apart, yeah, like we're on the same page, right? I don't have to convince you. But just because he can't come here and dominate the entirety of the islands doesn't mean that there aren't interesting things to talk about here. There are a lot of useful things he can do. For instance, he has a lot of different crazy magical abilities. Well, actually they're not really that crazy. They're pretty basic. He can shoot like lightning and fireballs and, that's fine, whatever. The most useful one he's gonna have is the ability to dominate the minds of people he comes across. Like he can literally just walk up and with a wave of his hand dominate their minds. However, it's pretty weak as it can only really dominate the minds of weak-willed people. And the Palpagos Islands have the Pal Spheres, which have complete and utter domination of anyone they throw the Pal Sphere at and who can get captured. It just seems to be a far more potent and useful version of what the Demon Lord of Nordberg can do. So I'm not going to say the domination power is going to be completely useless to the Demon Lord. It just isn't anything special here. Now, the two main things the Demon Lord can do that are going to be super, super useful is, one, his connection to the Demon World. Within Overlord, there's this alternate universe called the Demon World, which is kind of, sort of, maybe hell, but not really, because it's not really an afterlife. But it's another realm where there are demonic-like creatures that the Demon Lord calls minions. And the Demon Lord can freely travel between the main world and the netherworld whenever he wants. This means that the whole can I survive these island thing won't even really be an issue for him. Like, he won't have to worry about making camp and trying to stay warm and not being killed by pals in the middle of the night, or like, where is he gonna sleep? Literally none of that's gonna be an issue for him, because if he needs a place to sleep, he can just literally hop into another dimension where he has this massive floating fortress and his own kitchen and food and warmth and a bed and a bunch of beautiful naked bitches who are willing to sleep with him because he has a massive harem. He's gonna be pretty comfortable. He really only has to go to the Palpagos Islands when he wants to go to the Palpagos Islands for the sole purpose of taking it over, because that's his whole deal. He likes taking shit over. And because of his connection to the netherworld where these minions are, he also can control all of these minions. There's basically like an entire universe of these army of little goblin-like beings that have all kinds of different powers. There's swimming water ones that can breathe underwater. There's fire ones. There's poison ones. There's ones that turn invisible. There's ones that are specifically like beefier than other ones that are more like combat focused. And he rules over an entire alternate dimension where a significant yet unknown number of these things live, and they are all completely 100% loyal to him. realm. So basically, the question that we'd be asking by putting this character here is, can the Overlord with a massive army of minions and connection to the Netherworld jump to the Palpagos Islands and successfully dominate the land and just take it over completely? The answer to that question is no, but it would be kind of interesting to see him try. Like I said before, he's way too weak, and while I do think he'll be able to take on a lot of the early pals, even the ones who were more powerful than him, just due to the sheer number of minions he has possession of, there will eventually come a time as he is spreading his influence across the land that he's just not going to be able to deal with shit. I mean, eventually it's gonna get to the point where he starts fighting against pals and pal tamers that are so unbelievably powerful they can take on literally thousands of minions single-handedly. And this isn't like one or two dudes, like this is a lot, like a solid half of the island will be able to do this. You also have the fact that Palpagos Islands are very fractured in the game because you have all of these different competing factions that are vying for power. And if Overlord shows up and he decides he wants to take over all of the lands, this would be a really good reason for all these factions to put all their bullshit aside, come together and be like, hey, this dude invaded our lands, killing our people, dominating our mind, is just trying to like fucking take everything over. Maybe we should kill that guy and then we can go back to killing each other. And be like, yeah, okay, we could do that. And that's generally how things work, you know? You ever heard the saying that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't? That's kind of what would happen here. So yeah, overall, I think it would be kind of cool because it would be like a massive war that would break out in the Palpagos Islands. And you would actually have a Sauron-like Dark Lord on the island trying to murder and maim and dominate everyone's wills. But he and all of his forces just aren't quite strong enough to actually do it. It's not even like they're not quite strong enough. They're like nowhere near strong enough to do it. Maybe he'll get like a little foothold at the beginning of the game and then kind of eventually, like if any individual faction decided to just stop doing whatever the fuck they're doing and shifts focus directly towards the Overlord's forces, he's done. Like the best chance he has is if they ignore him to such an extent that it becomes too late for them to really do much. And I don't really see that happening, considering he's going to just start invading like across the entire land, just taking over whole towns and shit. Like that's a new situation. No one on the Palpagos Islands is trying to do that. They've all got their own shit going on and they are all fighting each other, but they're not actually trying to take over land and rule over people with like an iron fist. I just find it kind of impossible that they're going to ignore him. And again, even if they did, and best case scenario, he actually gets through and kills everybody, I mean, a single legendary would wipe out his entire army with ease. So yeah, he's fucked. Next up on the list, we have Flak from Borderlands, specifically Borderlands 3. And I'm gonna say some blasphemic shit right now. You guys ready? This is probably gonna be the most controversial shit I ever seen on this channel. Okay, but I'm going in. Borderlands 3 is a really shittily written game. I know, crazy. You've never heard that opinion before. I get it. But hold up, let me kind of give a caveat before I start bashing on Borderlands 3, which, by the way, I should probably let you know this is going to turn into a tangent. There's just no way I could talk about this game and it not go off into a tangent. So if you don't like tangents, I don't know, go do the dishes or something. For a long time after I played Borderlands 3, I had no interest in the Borderlands series at all anymore. Like, it just kind of killed the series for me. I never in my life played a Borderlands game for the gameplay. I actually don't think the gameplay is all that good. It's at absolute best average, and it's generally 10 years behind every other shooting game when it comes to even basic shooting mechanics. Like, I remember when Borderlands 3 came out, and everyone's like, oh, it feels so smooth, it feels so amazing to play Borderlands, you know, from Borderlands 2. And they said this because they added a slide mechanic and a vault mechanic. Yeah, in a first-person shooter, Borderlands 3 was the first one where you could vault over shit instead of just having to, like, awkwardly kind of try to jump over it. I mean, welcome to the party, I guess, Borderlands. You're only 25 years too late. They had vaulting and slide mechanics for the PS2. Even now with Borderlands 4 coming out in like a month, they had a trailer, like a gameplay trailer, and everyone's freaking out because in Borderlands 4, you can finally summon vehicles to your location no matter where you are in the map, whereas all previous Borderlands games, if you didn't have a vehicle, you had to walk miles to a Catch-A-Ride so that you can then summon it from there and drive it around. I'm playing Warframe right now. It came out in 2013. You can summon vehicles at your position on the fly. This is like a 15-year-old mechanic. Why are you just getting it in Borderlands 4? You should have had that shit in Borderlands 2. Anyway, my point is the reason why I play Borderlands is for the story and the characters, because I actually think that, well, mainly Borderlands 2. It's really just one game, because Borderlands 1 was okay. But Borderlands 2, I genuinely think had a really solid story and amazing character work for the type of game that it was. Like, there's a reason why everyone talks about Handsome Jack and can't fucking get over this dude. Like, I know people like to undersell it now because people just like to hate on shit that's popular and that people like, but Handsome Jack is a genuinely great video game same villain, and Borderlands 2 has a genuinely good story. And then Borderlands 3 came out, and in my mind, it was so unbelievably, bafflingly bad. It was something, it's the type of bad that you can't come back from. Because there were story decisions in there that, like, genuinely, from that point on, ruined the story and the universe of Borderlands. It was like Veilguard levels of atrocious writing, to the point that you're like, okay, you have literally permanently dampened this universe for me. And then they came out with the Borderlands director's cut, where they released a bunch of deleted scenes, and those deleted scenes were exactly what the game needed to fix all of its problems, which is why I actually kind of have a sneaking suspicion that they're not deleted scenes, but that Gearbox threw those scenes together after Borderlands 3 came out and everyone hated on it, and then they threw together like this director's cut, and they made these new scenes to replace the old scenes and threw them in there and been like, hey, no, this is actually, we were gonna do what you wanted us to do, but because of time restraints and stuff like this, we just couldn't do it. And it was sort of a way of trying to save face because of how much hate the game was getting. I don't buy it. Like, I'm not gonna say that they were straight up lying and that it wasn't a deleted scene, but I do find it very convenient, or I guess in their case, inconvenient, that they came out with a game that everyone absolutely despised, and then months and months and months and months and months later, they came out with a director's cut that just so happened to have 2 deleted scenes that literally fixed every single problem that people had, and they decided to just not put that in the game. Like, one of them was literally a rewriting of a scene that was the most hated scene in the game, and it was written in a far better way that, again, completely fixed every issue that they had. It was more emotional. It was better acted than the actual scene we got in the game. And out of all the scenes you could have deleted, you chose these 2? What a coinky dink. Man, that really sucks for you. It sucks that some horrible executive at Gearbox Studio told you to specifically take out the 2 scenes that would have saved your video game. That is wow, that is wild. Look, again, I don't want to call them liars. It's very hard for me to believe. One of the deleted scenes is literally just a scene that already exists in the game, just written better. How are we going to use the excuse that you didn't have time to implement literally the same scene with the same assets, same characters, same environments? How would that have been more money or more time to animate? It wouldn't have, which is why I think they went in after the fact, after they had all this hate thrown towards them, and they fixed it and just said it was a deleted scene that they didn't get time to do. Anyway, the whole point of me saying this is to say that even though I have all this sort of built up hatred and animosity towards Borderlands 3, I have started come around to getting into Borderlands 4, and I'll probably still get and play through Borderlands 4. And the reason for that is, even if those scenes weren't deleted and they added them after the fact, the fact that they wrote them at all, even afterwards, means they know exactly what they had to do to fix it. And they did posthumously kind of sort of, attempt to fix it. It's not in the game, it's just in a deleted scene, but they are capable of fixing it. They've also put things in their trailers and stuff like this that have hinted at me that they are aware of the mistakes that they've made and they're going in the proper direction now. So I'm building up a little bit of hope for Borderlands 4. So I don't think that this is just from a Borderlands hater. I really, really like Borderlands, and Borderlands 3 was a massive, like, it sucked. It bothered me, man. I like Borderlands. I want it to be good. But just for a second, let's pretend that I don't think that they're, lying to us, and I think they're telling the truth, and these really are deleted scenes. Honestly, I think that Borderlands 3 originally was supposed to be a lot better than it ended up being, and this is another theory for me. I don't have any evidence that this is the case, but I personally believe that originally Troy was supposed to be the villain of Borderlands 3, not Tyreen. If you look at the story from the very beginning all the way up until Troy's death, it's very clearly, to me, shown that he was the main antagonist, and Tyreen is a side villain who is only in the story to support Troy. If that wasn't the case, this story is fucking baffling, because the final story we get where Troy dies and Tyreen takes over is baffling. Out of the 2 villains, Troy is the only one with a character arc. At the beginning of the game, he is a leech that cannot survive without Tyreen. She views him as a leech and a burden on her. Throughout the game, he acquires more and more power, and not only power-wise and life-wise, but also character-wise, he begins to need Tyreen less and less. When you get to this boss fight, it's basically you versus Troy, while Troy siphons off power from Tyreen. As you fight him, Tyreen starts to scream because Troy is absorbing way too much of her power, and she's yelling at him, being like, if you keep doing this, I'm going to die. And he keeps going. You eventually kill him, which, one, saves Tyreen's life, which doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean, you'd think you would just let Troy kill her. But yeah, you save Tyreen by killing Troy, and then Tyreen just continues the story from that point on, having had no character development or really any build-up beforehand hand in the same way that Troy did. I mean, think about it. There's an entire arc with Troy and his girlfriend Aurelia where you kill her, but I guess they kind of sort of retcon that later by being, oh, well, actually, she's not dead. But anyway, originally you killed his girlfriend, which makes him super pissed at you. The entire emotional crux of Borderlands 3, Maya's death, one of the most beloved characters of the entire series, was because of Troy, not Tyreen. And Troy's entire story of feeling like a worthless leech and slowly gaining more power and confidence in himself is a full-fledged character arc. I think that originally in that Troy boss fight, he was supposed to kill Tyreen accidentally by absorbing too much power, which would then give you a final boss of the game who has the powers of Tyreen, Lilith, and Maya. He would have already gotten a bunch of build-up prior to that with his whole character arc, and he would have been stricken with the guilt of just killing his sister accidentally. To me, this is so clearly what the original intent of the story was, because otherwise what you end up having when Troy dies is you have Tyreen, who again was not built up prior to this. She has no real character other than being evil and her relationship with Troy, which is now no longer there. She didn't even really like Troy all that much and viewed him as a burden. So it's not even like this thing where she's distraught from her brother's death. She barely even seems to care most of the time. And then the last third of the game, you end up meeting her father, and all of her characterization comes from stories that her father tells you about her. It's literally just exposition. If she would have died instead of Troy, you wouldn't need all of this extra exposition from their father because they spent the entire game building up his character and giving him an entire arc. It wouldn't have been necessary. Tyreen needed that exposition because you really don't know anything about her. All of the momentum of the game is sucked out. You've already avenged Maya with Troy's death, and his whole storyline just seems like it got cut off early before it hit its crescendo of him finally getting to the point where he no longer needs Tyreen, which is what it seems like the direction he was going the whole game. It's so weird. The only thing I can think of why they would have done this is because someone in the company or Gearbox as a whole or Randy Pitchford wanted Borderlands 3 to be like a girl power game. It just seems very clear to me that that's what they're doing. Borderlands has always been more of a girl power game, but that's never been a problem in the past. The game was written well, and the female and male characters were utilized well. Yes, the male characters were side characters that only existed to support the stories of the female characters, but that's fine. That's what fucking side characters do. In Borderlands 3, literally all of the main characters are females. You've got Ava, Lilith, Maya, Tannis, and Tyreen. Those are all the most important characters. The male characters are like cameos at best. And Randy Pitchford has said things like he's come out and said that he's a feminist and that he likes supporting women's rights and all this kind of stuff. And I get it. It's fine. It's whatever. I don't have an issue with it, but I do have an issue with it when it ruins your fucking story. Troy should have been the main character. You still would have had all the main heroes be females, and you would have had one pretty decent male villain. What's the problem? I've talked about this in the past and how much it annoys me, how stories can't have female supporting characters supporting male characters or else it's somehow sexist. Like, you're not allowed to have a female exist in a story for the sole purpose of supporting a male character, but that's what side characters are supposed to do, whether they're male or female. They're supposed to support main characters. Sex isn't supposed to have anything to do with it. It's not a relevant factor. Maybe there was another reason Troy wasn't the main villain and Tyreen was, but I honestly can't think of a good reason as to why. And I think we've seen this enough in both gaming and movies where females are not just allowed to be side characters from basically every Marvel movie made in the last 10 years, where they have a female side character that takes over the fucking movie by the end. And the male character either becomes a supporting character in his own movie, or the story's like Splinter and there's like two main plots with one following the female and one following the male that just makes the movie feel messy as fuck because they just can't have that female only exist for the dude. Like, it's fine. Stop fucking up your stories with this. Now, to get to the reason why I brought all this up, because it's actually relevant to what I'm talking about. The story of Borderlands is bad, and I think people wrongly think that it's just bad because of the Ava stuff and that the Calypso twins are annoying. I think this is false. The Ava stuff is bad, but this game's really just has terrible writing across the board, including in the playable characters like Flack. I know, finally getting to the point. I'm gonna have to put like a tangent section. This is a little longer than I was expecting it to be. Whatever, is what it is. But yeah, Flack as a character doesn't make any fucking sense in this game. The more you read about Flack's character, the less this motherfucker makes sense. Originally, we know that he was an indexer who worked in a library, who then eventually became sentient and started like thinking ideas and shit. Like, he got his own will. Once he did that, he left the library on a journey of self-discovery to find out more about like life, basically. Learn things, grow. He has sentience now. Let's just go live. You know, that makes sense. But when he gained sentience, he also gained like this super like murder obsession. So he became obsessed with hunting people down and killing them, specifically for this being that I guess he just made up called the Mistress of Death. So he like kills people for death because he just loves death now. But also he like has an attachment to animals. So he started like training these beasts, and these beasts like him, and he feels a connection to wildlife and nature. So now he's got, so he's like a Beastmaster character. That's 3 different fucking characters. That's not one dude I just talked about. A robot who gains sentience and goes on a journey of self-discovery, that's a character. A hunter who is obsessed with death and kills people for the Mistress of Death, that's a whole character. A nature-loving, animal-loving beast trainer, that is a 3rd character. How do any of these traits correlate to each other? I would even say 2 of them are conflicting. Having a dude run around murdering people and just absolutely loving death and murder, but also being this caring beast tamer who loves animals and wildlife, those are conflicting characters. It's like when Sony tried to make Kraven the Hunter like an anti-poaching movie, which was like, what? You out of your fucking mind? It just doesn't make any sense. This also translates to his powers and ability. Flak is a character who is a beast tamer and has a bunch of these wild animals that fight for him. Okay, cool. He also has the ability to control gamma radiation and open up portals. Okay, cool. I didn't even know that was possible in this universe, but fine, now they have portals. And he also has cloaking technology that makes him invisible, which I would say goes against the whole beast taming thing, because you're a dude who has a bunch of giant animals that run around and maul people to death, but you also have a stealth ability like turning invisible. Don't the massive fucking monsters that follow you around kind of defeat the whole purpose of having invisibility? It just seems like the creators of this game took a random grab bag of abilities and character traits and just threw them all together and made Flak. I mean, fuck, even his name doesn't make any sense. Why is he named Flak with a 4? Is it because he's a robot? So they put like a number in his name? What does FL4K stand for? Does it stand for anything? Why is he named that? This isn't a character. It's just like a bunch of shit thrown together. It's really weird. Like if you go back to Borderlands 2 and you take a character like, I don't know, Zero, who's another character who has the invisibility, right? He's a mysterious assassin character we don't know much about, and he's supposed to be one of the greatest assassins in the entire universe. He has melee weapons, sniper rifles, he can turn invisible. The melee weapon is usually shown being some kind of like long sword or katana-like thing. He's masked so you can never see his face. It's simple, but it all makes sense. Krieg is a crazy wild man who lives out in the wasteland. He has a multiple personality disorder from being experimented on constantly. He runs around with a stick that he tied a saw blade to, lights himself on fire, and then goes around beating the shit out of people and lighting them on fire. I mean, it's fucking weird because Borderlands is a weird universe, but it makes sense. It's simple and it gives room for expansion and depth of the character. I don't know what the fuck Flak's whole deal is. I don't like, it's so many things. And I feel like this all could have been fixed and cleaned up like really easily. Like why not call him, I don't know, like RO10. Then it could be like a joke on binary, like binary code, because he's a robot, right? Then you got 0, 1, 0. And you can call him Rolo, and the RO can stand for, I don't know, fucking anything. A recon operative, right? And that's why he can be invisible. And then his whole story about being an indexer in a library that suddenly becomes obsessed with murder would make maybe a little more sense, because he was designed to be a robot for war, but he was being used in a library. But maybe like he doesn't remember what he was designed for. He doesn't know what he was designed for. So he starts getting all these desires to kill people because he's supposed to be a fucking military droid, but instead he's in a library. But the guy who had him in the library was like a really nice, peace-loving dude. Maybe he had animals around a lot and he started to like animals. So now he has like this sort of split thing where he's like, yeah, he kind of like really wants to kill people because that's what he was designed for, but he also was taught to be like peaceful and loving and love animals, and he loves like life. And so you can have like this sort of kind of a funny situation, right? Because it's like Borderlands comedy where he's this dude who's like this peace-loving, kind dude who loves animals, but he just says the darkest, most violent shit ever out of nowhere. But you can also make it like an interesting character thing where he's conflicted on his purpose and what he should do. Should he go by the purpose he was built for, which makes more sense and is probably more comfortable for him, or should he go with the purpose that he knows is right and what he feels more tied to personally? Boom! That took me, what, 20 seconds? I just thought of that on the fly. None of that is in the actual game. All of these traits are given to the character, but there's no storyline hooking them together or making them make any sort of sense. He just sort of has all of these traits for no real reason. Probably because they created the character gameplay-wise first and then decided to write a story around it and didn't quite do the connective tissue part all that much justice. But anyway, look, I've been talking about the story enough. How would fucking Flak do if you threw him into the fucking Palworld? He'll do okay. He'll do okay. I mean, Borderlands is super, super powerful. Like, I don't think there's gonna be much trouble fighting pals, especially not early game. And it's even possible that some of the early, less violent and destructive pals, he might actually be able to train and add them to his, you know, animal army. Also, the fact that he's made out of metal and he's not biological means that he might not even be attacked because the pals eat people and that's why they attack people on sight. So he won't really even be in that much danger. The only real issue that I see is the fact that he's like obsessed with hunting. So he may put himself in danger in ways that he probably shouldn't. He would actually go after the stronger people on the island when he's nowhere near the level of the strongest pals and the strongest people who have pals on the island. He's probably closer in power to maybe like the mid-tier pals and characters, which would be fine. He would be able to survive if he was just living there, you know, set up a camp, chill out, go to town, talk to some people. Just don't go out of your way to try and fight the literal most powerful beings in the entirety of the Palpagos Islands. But, you know, it's like part of his character that he does, so he's going to. So yeah, he's gonna die. Most of this section was me bitching about Borderlands. I apologize for that. Last up, but certainly not least, we have Hector from the Castlevania series. This would be the game, not the show, not the anime. I was actually going to spend like a large portion of this section just bitching about the anime because I think they completely fucked up Hector. But I mean, I feel like I've already spent all my tangent points in the Borderlands section, so we'll get through this one a little faster. But if you are interested in seeing all of my opinions on Castlevania, I made like an hour-long video like a year or two ago, a long time ago, after Castlevania Nocturne Season 1 came out, and I go over literally everything. I go over the creators of the show, I go over the games, I compare literally every single character that appears in the show to the games, talk about which ones were better, why they were better, what worked about them and what didn't work about the other, literally everything. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. As for here, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. I think Hector's gonna be fine. People who watch the anime don't realize how brokenly overpowered Hector is in the Castlevania universe. He's one of the most powerful characters in the entire series. He's insanely powerful. He's one of the few characters who has beaten Dracula in a 1v1 fight. And before you say, oh, Dracula was weakened and he wasn't at his full power, well, neither was Hector, so whatever, dude. He beat Death in a 1v1. He beat the Traveler, who he's, to this day, the only person who's beaten the Traveler. People forget that most of the protagonists of Castlevania games have never beaten Death or Dracula by themselves. It took Hector, Sypha, Grant, and Alucard together to beat Dracula and Death. Now, Alucard does eventually go on to fight Dracula years later and overcome him, but even that is with the help of Richter and some others, and he gets a bunch of massive power-ups and a bunch of new magical abilities and weapons and items that he didn't have prior. Generally speaking, Dracula is a lot stronger than Alucard is. I mean, shit, Hector is the Devil Forge Master that created Dracula's entire army. His whole army, just think about that for a second. Every single Castlevania game that you play, every monster, every enemy, every boss that's not like Orlox or Carmilla or Death or Dracula himself, all the big ass fucking building sized skeletons and giant flying demons that shoot fire from like the boss monsters, those were all created by either Hector or Isaac. And Hector is directly stated to be far more powerful than Isaac. So the strongest of the boss monsters were all created by Hector. Hector has the ability to create literal armies of giant kaiju-like demons to attack the world if he wanted to. And it's not like it is in the anime where he takes a dead body and then turns that into a demon. That's an anime thing. In the game, Devil Forge Masters can literally just take like random shit off the ground and forge it into a demon. He can use metal, he can use wood, he can use stone. He uses all sorts of shit. And the demons that he creates have all kinds of different powers. When you play Castlevania 3 at the beginning, when you're Trevor, and you have to save Sypha because she's been turned to stone by this big ass, you know, troll looking stone goblin thing, Hector made that demon. He made a demon that has the power to turn people to stone. Every single power that every demon has across the entire Castlevania franchise up to a point is something that Hector granted those demons the power of. He is a Devil Forge Master. He can forge demons, he could forge weapons, and he could forge all of them with dark magics that give them all sorts of crazy abilities and powers. In terms of combat ability, a weakened version of Hector was able to beat Trevor in a 1v1 fight. He was able to beat Death and the Traveler, again, completely weakened. He's ridiculously powerful. He's ridiculously skilled. Now, I don't go to the whole point where people say that the Castlevania universe is multiversal in power. That's all bullshit. I've gone over that in the past. I'm not going to do that again. They're not even close close to multiversal, but honestly, they don't fucking have to be. Not here. In terms of just the number of hacksy abilities that Hector has, in terms of fighting skill, in terms of his physical ability, like, it's, again, not multiversal, but he has been shown jumping like 50 fucking feet in the air and smashing through solid stone with his bare fists and fighting giant metal monstrosities. And he's fine. He can fight against it. He fucks him up. He does perfectly okay. And this is without taking into account the Palladium fragments, which is basically the magic of the Pal world. It's what grants Pals their power, and it allows the Pal Tamer to forge all kinds of different crazy magical items. That doesn't exist in Castlevania. What would a Devil Forge Master do with an item like that can make that kind of shit even without the dark magics that he would be adding to it? He can make all kinds of shit that wouldn't exist in Castlevania. He's gonna be fine. Also, Hector's a character that's just kind of done with all of it. He doesn't want to fight in wars. He doesn't want to kill a bunch of people. He doesn't want to hunt. He would just like build a cabin somewhere and live out in the woods and just like survive and deal. You know, the only reason why he comes back is for revenge, and by the end of his game, he doesn't even like want that anymore. He's just like, I just kind of want to go chill. He's gonna go get married, settle down, have some kids. He's not gonna go out to start problems with everybody. So yes, not only because of his very impressive powers and abilities, but also his characterization, I just don't really see any possible way anyone would be able to like kill him. Or, I mean, they can catch him with a Pal Sphere, and that would like dominate his mind and all of that, but he's way more skilled than them, and they would have to go out of their way to go get him and do that specifically. I mean, I guess the Devil Forge Mastery would be something to like try and, you know, no, that actually might, yeah, they might want to get him because he has the Devil Forge Master powers, and then he can make them a bunch of cool stuff. So maybe that might make him a target if he like puts that out there that he has those abilities, but I don't think he's that stupid. He was also put in charge of the armies of Dracula for a reason. He's a really good soldier and strategist, so I don't see him like putting that out and like letting the entire fucking islands know like, hey, I have this awesome power that can make you a bunch of rare awesome shit. Come and dominate my mind so that you can fucking, yeah, I think he'll be fine. He'll just like go live out in the forest. Occasionally something might come up that he has to deal with. He'll beat it, and then he'll just like go back to living his life. Hopefully settle down with a nice wife and kids. You know, that's all he wanted. That's all I want for him. I think that's reasonable. But that's gonna be all for me. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, join the membership, you get access to exclusive videos that no one else could get. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?